I must apologise tonight, we've forgotten the box which had the film in to show how we used to cut coal. And what else did we forget?
The lamp belt.
Oh, aye, there was a lamp belt with all the stuff on. Mike Speroni knows about it. Who else have we got here? Bob over there was Di Denby. Di Watkin, no, Di Jones, you know, he must have it. Used to call him Watkin.
Yeah.
But we had all our nicknames because how many Di Joneses was there then?
Too many.
Yeah, excellent. Anyway, we'll wing it tonight and we hope that you enjoy yourselves. And I will start to kick off now and we'll sing our song for Point of Air. I'll move out the way while you do that. And then John can talk about the mining, the lamp room there.
You can do the message.
Yeah.
One that's worth its weight in gold to all at the point of it. We work all day and work all night for the treasure black we mine. Sweat and soul through hours long, like the fire make us as one. Keep our souls entwined, keep our souls entwined. Leave the Irish sea, find the treasure there.
Start it again to the volume. Go off every note.
1,000 feet and many more beneath the ocean waves. That is where the treasure lies. Among the brothers fair, underneath the Irish sea, find the treasure there. One that's worth its weight in gold to all at the point of air. Come on, little pony, pull your heart with all your might. You will never ever know the value of your heavy load in a never-ending night, a never-ending night. Underneath the Irish Sea, you'll find a
Can't hear
treasure
it, like you can see it, can you?
one that's worth its weight in gold to all at the point of air. One that's worth its weight in gold to all at the point of air.
That was a Point of Air song. If you could have heard it, it's lovely. Right, my name is John Wiltshire and I am the chairman of the Point of Air Community and Heritage Group. The lads will introduce themselves when they come up. John will be the first to come up. He was a lamp man there. And we've dug him up today, we've dusted him down. But he looks well, doesn't he? 92. 92. No, but he's a good lad. John, would you like to carry on? Then we'll...
I'll start off if you like. We'll do. Drag this table over more space.
What do you want?
Do you want the lights on?
Got some lamps cooking.
He's used to being in the dark.
He knows how to feel his way around.
Right, my name's John. I was the head lampman at Point of Air. And my job was looking after all the cap lamps, the oil lamps, the methanometers and the self-rescuers. Now, you've probably all seen one of these. But have you ever seen it?
Ever seen it lit?
All like that. Now, when he invented these in 1840, you can all have a look later closer. You can see all the holes in there. There's 100 holes per square inch.
No flame alarm.
And he worked out the flame will not pass through it. Smoke will go through it. So because you had two, come on, you can move it. So then, we had the cap lamp. And you can all come around after and see, feel the weight of it that they work with for 8 hours a day. It was my job to check these, and if they come up and said, my lamp's not working, take it all to pieces, put new bulbs in, put a new battery on, new cable, and see to all that. Then we had these, which was self-rescuer. That used to be hung on the belt. If there was anything down there, they were told to put the lamp on, the self-rescuer on. They unclipped it, took the lid off, put that in the mouth, that in the nose, and the straps over the head. And it gave them time to walk out. Now, each one of them had a weight on it, written underneath. And every month I had to weigh them, out of my job, and if it was 1 gram under or 1 gram over, it was taken into the little room and tested. If it was 5 grams either way, it was sent back to the lab and they'd send us a new one in its place. And with them, these and them, I had to fill a report in every month, and it was signed by the manager and sent off to Her Majesty's Inspector of Mines. And every so often he'd come and he'd check to make sure I was doing the job right. Then they came along with them. An analogue one and a digital one. But not many people liked using them. They weren't as accurate as them. And they would work with batteries. So they trusted the lamp more than they did them. And when they tested for gas down the pit with these lamps, it had to be in darkness. And somebody said to one man, how do you see? And that's a picture he took.
He painted it, John. Painted it.
Well, he painted that. And he wrote on the back that if there's gas present, the flame changes, which we've got a picture on there of. So you can all have a look at that later. And gas has many uses, not just for burning. Does anybody else know what it's used for?
Cooking.
Go through the list here. That's drugs, road tar, explosives, aniline dyes, detergents, weed killers, saccharin, sulfuric acid, household cleaners, insecticides, paint and varnish, nylon, fruit tree sprays and fertilisers. They're all used for coal, with coal.
That's it, John.
That's it. Then they had the hat, it stuck on the head. Later on they came along with that one. Which buys it. And inside there's a little motor that pumped air right the way around. But not everybody could wear them. As John can explain better than me later on, of why he couldn't wear one of these.
He knows it's too big.
Right. Something not to do, this is nothing at all to do with mining. What do you think that is? So many people say a spaghetti measure. It was used in schools. They'd put, I would have had to walk one. That like that, put your fingers through to stop you writing left-handed. So anybody left-handed was stuck, had one of them stuck on that. He's put a back, isn't he? Do you want to start on your watch, John?
No, Glenn's going now.
Oh, right, I'm going to introduce you to Glenn now.
Mr. Hughes.
Mr. Hughes.
Dear God.
There's one somewhere there.
Somebody's got.
Evening. My name is Glenn Hughes. I hate telling when I started in Pontevedra. I started my age away, wasn't I? I left the best school in Wales on a Friday, that's Glyndŵr School in Brill. I went to Pontevedra on a Saturday morning, had my medical, and I started in Pontevedra on a Monday morning. No some holidays for me then. But when you first went to work in Pontevedra, you weren't allowed underground until you were 16. So what they did, they put you on the surface and they tried to put you with someone that was from your own village so he could show you the ropes. And I'm from Gronant and I was with an old gentleman and he'd just show me the ropes on the surface. And whilst I was on the surface, they had pit ponies on the surface then. And they were massive pit ponies. And I was thinking to myself, they got ponies down the pit and all, they can't be that big. I was to find out a bit later on. And they were on the surface, and then from Christmas time we were sent to Wrexham to do our training before going down the pit. You spent 2 months in Gresford Colliery, 2 months in the tech. And in the tech they was hoping that you'd take an apprenticeship up, i.e. fitter electrician. The apprenticeship then was about £3 a week, but the big money was when you're 16 to go down the pit. We came back after 4 months and I had another 3 months to do in Pontevedra where he went back to the old chap. As soon as you were 16, you were called into the office. 16, you're going down the pit. Fair enough. Went down the pit again, you went with someone from your own village just to show you the ropes. I was with the chap for about 3 months and the other manager came to me and he said, I've had good reports about you, boy. I was 16 calling me a boy. I wasn't about that big, but still. And he said, we're going to send you, he said, to the stables and you're going to work with a pit pony. I said, yes, he said, I've got good report about you and you're going to work with a pit pony. I said, right. Monday morning he said, report to the stables. Went Monday morning. The hostler said, well then, you come for your pony? I said, yes. He said, Turpin is the name of your pony. I said, right. He said, go in the stall, he said. Have you fetched your treats for the pony? I said, no, he's talking about treats. Oh, he said, well, you go in, he said, and just take his hand and put his collar on, he said, and try and fetch him out. So I goes into the store. Morning, Turpin. Horse turned round, looked at me like that. Hostel said, oh, God, don't speak English to him, he doesn't know, he said. Don't understand English at all, he said. He said, he won't move, he said. He said to me, do you speak Welsh? I said, well, dipping back. I said, only what I learnt in Glyndŵr. Have you fetched the treats and all for him, he said. I said, what do you mean, treats? He said, put his collar on and try and get him out the stall. Put the collar on, goes through. As I moved that way, he moved his bum that way. Went round the other way, moved his bum again. The hostler said, yeah, but you want no treats? He said, no. Tomorrow morning, he said, fetch some treats. Put him. The next day, I got me treats. What have you got, he said. What else?
Sugar lump.
Mince and piddles. Mince and piddles. Champion. He said, right, take him to work. I said, how far's work? You had to walk 2.5 miles before you got to your work. And the horse would lead you. They knew where they were going. They'd lead you. And the operation was that he pulled 2 tubs, empty tubs, into where the men were working. And he had to tumble the tubs over on the side because it was only 10 foot wide and 6 foot high. And then put the horse on, take him out to his stable, fetch him back. Done that. Now the first 100 ton of coal that you got out never got paid for. I said, well, why didn't you get all that goes to the company? First 100. I said, you what? So I'm working for nothing. He said, no, the first 100 ton goes to the company. He said, but after that, you get good money as a pony driver. Oh, I got good money. How much? Threepence a ton. And a ton was 2 tubs of every jack. And you do that, the loaders would fill 100 tubs a day, and you do that 50 times, 2 tubs at a time, taken out. In the end of the shift, first day, take his collar, said, right, say to him, foot to your stab, I'll say it in Welsh and I can translate to you. Foot to your stab or row, Turpin, go to the stable now, Turpin. And he'd go out on his own, I'd be 100 yards behind him. He knew where the stables were. Take him back to the stables. And then there was other horses, there were 70 ponies down the pit, by the way, down Point of Ayr Colliery. 70 ponies. There was 4 different stables in different parts of the pit. And you'd walk 5 miles some days from one seam to another. We had 4 seams of coal working. And they had 70 ponies, and some had names. I'll throw some names out to you, and I mean this in a nice way. The older people will reckon the names that I throw out to you of the horses' names in Point of Ayr. Ackley. Bebby. There was one horse, as our fathers said to us, one horse, if the hostler says go with that, don't go with him. I said, why not? What was the name of the horse? Churchill. and he came from a an English-speaking pit somewhere, came to work in Point of Ayr. And our father said, you go with that horse, don't look. I don't, there's no love lost between the miners and the Conservatives. And that lasted till 1994 when I finished there. Still, that's another story. And the horses were, most of the horses were red on the Denby moors, hence the Welshness of them, if you will. You know, excuse me. And then the lifespan for the pit pony, any idea how long the lifespan was for a pit pony? No. Double that. And they never came up the pit, because it'd be unfair for them to fetch him up the pit, because if they were to fetch him up, they'd have to put 7 sacks around their eyes, get him to the surface, take 1 sack off a day for him to get used to the light, and then another 7 days, put him back on for him to get, so they left him down there. The period of time that I was down there, 2 got killed. Accidents do happen, 2 got killed. But we used to take treats down for them. But some of the old miners, we'd have our snapping. We had our 20-minute snapping. And some of the old miners and ourselves keep our crusts and just give them to the horse, you know, while we're having our snapping. And the old miners said, oh no, we're going to throw our crusts. We're going to throw them about on the floor. And we had plenty of mice down there, see? And I said, well, you're keeping the mice? They said, no, the horse isn't having them. So, with it being hard work, pick and shovel and this and that, so a lot of the old miners, when they come, they take the false teeth down with them and put them in a snapping bag. And we said, well, we'll cure you, not giving the crust of the horses. As young lads, we'd go to the snapping bags and take his teeth out of there and put it in there. And it come to snap time, you have to put the teeth back in then. Have the snap, and we'd hear the comments there, we don't read the comments. Oh, I'll kill that wife of mine when I get in. I've got her teeth. And that's just how we used to get the teeth back for the horses. Started getting them crossed. And then on the last shift, on a weekend, the horses knew they were going to have a treat. Going to have a treat that's something special in their meal, which it was. And you had a heck of a job to hold him on the last shift. Heck of a job to hold your horse. You'd go. The apprenticeship with the horses, you knew you were going to 5 years, and then you get promotion and you'd go further. And I was saying in 1968, John, when the last one's come up,
1967, and they were kept on land until 68.
Yeah, until 68. Most of them went to, there was a ponies in Carlisle, most of them went there. Some, the local miners themselves, had small holdings, and they bought, well, were given a pit to take home, you know, for the children and that. It was a sad day, really, when they, you know, we started getting mechanised then in the 60s, and much lighter work and what have you, but I have fond memories of the pit ponies. I'm often asked, I'm saying I spent 40 years down there, and I'm often asked now, would I go back? I do exactly the same thing, and some of the lads that work with me, and it's 1 or 2 younger ones in here now, that after Point of Air closed, went to work somewhere else, and they said, Glenn, it's not the same. You go and work in these factories, he said, it's not the same. And as I say, they can knock all the buildings down they want, all the buildings they want. They can never take the memories away. I was proud to work with the police, and I'm a proud miner. And thank you for listening to this.
Well, here we go, it's me now, isn't it? Unaccustomed as I am to public speaking, usually said, don't it? But I never went down the pit straight away. I worked in Moston Ironworks, if anybody ever remembers it. 2 years doing my apprenticeship, and it closed down. So I went to Courtaulds to finish up my apprenticeship as a fitter, and we put all these machines in, so they were getting rid of all the machines, and they were sacking fitters, you see, when they installed all these machines. So I got a few lads together, and I said, look, there's lads here over 40, it's going to be a hard job for them to get work. So why don't we, again now, go and get jobs somewhere? So we went to Camelairds on the submarines, you know. So I worked on the submarines for a couple of years, and then I went to the Point of Ayr, and then, where's Morfydd? Morfydd's there. We were in Glenclwyd, they're talking about Glyndŵr, we were in Glenclwyd, weren't we, mate? First pupils, weren't we?
Yeah, yeah.
I'll let you know how old I am now. Right, I'll just talk about this for a start. John was saying that we could, you see, I was in the heading. I used to work in the heading. It wasn't a fitter down the pitch. What we used to do, we used to drive a roadway here, and 100 yards or so away, we'd drive another roadway there, with both machines going together, and ours was the smaller machine, so we used to turn like this, and then we'd cut and meet the other face like that, and then you would put all the machinery on there to cut out, you see. So when we were in the headings, we were forever looking up, because there was 3 of us in the team, and you always had to do this. You couldn't do that with this, you see, because they're stopping you doing that. You had to do it. Man, you got caught out one day, didn't I? I got caught out one with a big lump. I had an argument with a big stone, so that messed me foot up a bit, didn't it? Right, now, we're going to boards here. I will talk later on, you can come around. This is Victorian times, you can't see it from the back, you can't appreciate it really. In Victorian times, they never had dole, social security, nothing like that. The only security that they had is if a child was born, they registered it with the pit, the local pit. And that's how they got their security, because the kids, when they came of age,
They would go in the tent. Yeah.
I said, did anybody see Flogging tonight?
Yes, yes.
Did you see it there?
Yes, I did, yes.
Did you see the little boy?
Yes.
Yeah. The story now, you'll bear this, won't you?
Yes.
Because he said it on there. There'd be a family working together. In here you had the dad cutting the coal, and you had the man carrying full journeys out, and the little lad on the end. And he operated the air door. And the air door was there to make sure that the ventilation went all around the pit, you see. So that door had to be closed. And the only time he opened it, when he heard his man coming up, he'd open the door, his mum would come out with the basket or the truck or whatever it was. And then he'd shut the door straight away. Then she'd take an empty one down for the dad to fill again. And he'd shut the door straight behind her again. Now, they had to pay for everything in them days. And they had one candle, didn't they? One candle. Who had the candle? The father, the man, or the little boy?
Or the man.
Well, yeah, I can. Somebody said little boy, like, but it wasn't a little boy. Had to be the father, didn't it? Because he had to see what he was cutting, didn't he? You know. So that little boy there, he'd sit there by the door for 12-hour shifts, and he'd have a rope. He had a rope on his hand, and he'd go into the door. So he used to open that door. If he let that rope go, he wouldn't be able to find it, because it's really, really dark down there. You know, you can't describe it, can you? Well, Mike will tell you and everything. You just can't describe it, how dark it is down there. So he had to have it tied to his wrist. So he was there. How old do you think he was?
5 or 6.
Eh?
5 or 6.
6. He'd be there for 12 hours a day, 6 days a week, 12-hour shifts. And the only day that he had off was a Sunday school. When he used to, the Sunday when he used to go to chapel and go to Sunday school. I was a good boy when I was then, you know, I used to go to Sunday school, you know, so I've changed since. So there's little things here, you can see it, what age they were. There's a dad with his lad going down the pit, you know. So we go through the no.
Cloth cap.
The cloth caps. We got another film there, haven't we, you know. They said fire damp, you know, and you can see they got a candle, and the only indication they had is when it was starting to go, you know, dimmer and dimmer. So what they used to do, they used to wave like this for the air to you know, to make the flame go up. But what they didn't realise, they were sending gas there sometimes to just blow everybody up, you know. Horses. Glyn spoke magnificently on him. That's his dad. Innit? And we never found that fortune, did we, till we were starting now? So, on all the other ones, we got the boats here. There's a tan land. There are 3 boats, Point of Ayr. They had the Point of Ayr, the tan land, and the Tlacra.
And the Bollen.
Eh?
And the Bollen.
No, they didn't used to own that.
That's only for going back to...
They used to be owned by Coppicks.
That's right.
Yeah. Tlacra was owned by Point of Ayr. I'll tell you a little story. In our museum, we got a model of a boat. And it was built by Captain Williams's, what was he, nephew or something? Oh, no, son-in-law. Son-in-law. And he used to live in Tanlan. And it was a family ship. And you can see on the model there, Captain Williams is on the bridge like this. The fella on the front, his name was Elwyn Jones. Well, how many Elwyn Joneses did we have there?
Elwyn Swanee.
Well, Elwyn Swanee, we knew him. You had to call him something. I can't tell you some of the nicknames. I'll tell you one about Wrexham. This fella here used to go moonlighting. And he was a painter. He used to work on a pit, but his trade was a painter and decorator. And so he was painting, and he was painting on a ladder. And there was an old chapel or something, you know, where they got them spiky railings. And he fell off the ladder, and a spike just went through him. Didn't touch anything vital or anything like that. But after that, when he went back to work, they called him Kebab. But his daughter didn't like it because her name was Donna. I'll go back to Captain Williams. Archie one day, his wife was out here. She was Captain Williams' daughter, you see. So anyway, they said, Archie said, I can't leave it like this, Willie, because I'm from Westby, you see, I'm from Westby, and he said, I knew Archie well. And he says, I can't leave it like this, I've got to stay home. Do you know what my dad's like? Because he was a father-in-law. You know what my dad's like? Go down the pit. So Archie jumped on the bike and he went down to the pit. And just as he's getting there onto the dockside, the Tlacra is pulling away like this. And old Captain Williams, he couldn't do it, he couldn't turn around really, because they're quite big boats, you know. So Archie's running down, said, Captain Williams, I'm here, Captain Williams. So Mr. Captain Williams said, Archie, time and tide, wait for an old man, the old saying, like, you know. So Archie, now he was really cross, you know. And he went to the Point of Ayr and he said, have you got any jobs here? And he was a good mechanic, it was Archie. And the manager said, what do you do? I'm a good mechanic. He says, okay, start tomorrow, he says, as a fitter. So they started him as a fitter. And it used to take 4 days to go from Point of Ayr with a load of coal to Ireland, unload, and then load up with potatoes, mostly. But sometimes there was like a special stone that they used to have, you know, you should put the stone. So it used to take 4 days by the time that operation was there. And the boats really, they used to try and get there at slack tide time before they could get in. And the reason for that was that they had contraband on. So they had to wait for the high tide, and they used to go out in rowing boats and get the contraband, you know. And then they used to go in there. Anyway, Mr. Williams now, he's come back, he's going to go see his granddaughter, Captain Williams. So he says, oh, lovely, isn't she? What was her name? Lynn, was it, John, the second girl? Yeah, Lynn. And Captain Williams, oh, where's Archie? He says, when he said, he's working. He works for me. He says, well, you know, why is he working there? He works in the Point of Ayr. So old Captain Williams was really upset, you know, but that's how he was, wasn't he? He was a stickler. everything on that boat was, you know, the spot on, but, you know, but that's the only time you knew how she'd got to do the job. What I mean, you know. Oh, this is a coal crane. You can have a look at these after. Look here. That's John Lana there. For the ones there. And that's me there, look like Magnum. I think I look more like the ice cream than a detective. But these are all photographs of Points of Ayr. You know, these were coal queens. We used to have a competition every year, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Every 2 years.
Every 2 years, was it?
Depends how old you were.
Then 80 and 82.
Depends how old you were. 72 or 80.
Well, yeah. And my photographs taken with it anyway. So anyway, do you know in
Your man's shop?
yeah, it won't be the
Tom Vernon, one of the...
Yeah, I'm going to pictures of me sleeping off.
Tom Vernon used to work in Mostyn Docks. The other Vernons, they used to be, Jerry was a pilot,
Yeah.
and Tom then went on the boat, a pilot boat with Jerry,
Royston Vernon's father was
Ah.
on the...
what was his name, the other one? Jerry was a pilot, wasn't he?
That's right, yeah.
What was the other one called? Joe, and
Joel Vernon was his dad.
anyway, two of them on the boat. Do you know in Meliden, have you seen a thing with all sorts of
Yeah.
things sticking out of it? Well, that was one of our main tools, you see. We used to have that to cut coal. We used to call it a shearer. And what it was, you got a chain going all down the face. And this thing was bolted in such a way that it would swivel like this, you see. Okay? It was bolted in such a way. So we used to call them panzers, after the panzers, you know, the tanks the Germans had. Anyway, what happened, like, the shearer would be riding here on top of a rail on a panzer and there, and they'd be cutting this way. So the edge of the pan was there, and he'd be cutting like that. Do you ever go that, Bob? Were you in the face?
Yeah.
And Dad Henry was, wasn't he? Like you were there, huh?
Yeah.
And they cut now, as they're going down there with that disc, the width of that disc. So from there now to where he's cut, that is the new coal face. So what they used to do with the big chocks that we had down there, big walking chocks, hydraulic chocks, they push on the front ram, and this panzer that was able to do that, that's to go right up to the new coal face wall. And what they used to do then, they'd get them all behind them like that, and then they'd pull the chock down, release the pressure, and then they'd pull on that ram then, and the chocks would all go over then, you see. So when he's coming back now, he's cutting into new coal, you know. But you know those things in Meliden, they still got the picks on them there.
Yeah.
How it must be hard to get them out because the diamond chipped.
Yeah.
I didn't expect it to last that long in Meliden. Sorry. Apologies to anybody who comes from Meliden.
Not very
Right. As I said, we've usually got things here, you know. Before I go any further, most pits had about 6, 7, 8 coal seams. So you'd have a coal seam, loads of rock. This is where Mike used to be the expert, wasn't it? Coal seam, rock, etc. Now we had 6 at the point of Ayr that was most productive. So what you had, you see, you were working in the 6 seams. You'd be working here in the bottom seam, and then you go onto the next seam, so you're all working on top of each other like this, you know. And I don't know, I think Mike Speroni got the plans wrong, didn't he?
Yeah, definitely.
Because he says
We ended up in...
that we've taken coal from underneath the track of the lighthouse, didn't he? Yeah, lad.
This one, the surveyor's office. He's in the order, one of ours. I often wondered how we ended up in Pandingo.
That rock was nice, though, wasn't it? Oh, but we have taken coal from underneath Colliery Lighthouse. So if you see it going like that one day, you know, like the one on the roundabout there. I think they were trying to, copy ours, weren't they? But this side of the lighthouse, that's the only place that we've taken coal from underneath land. All the rest was under the Irish Sea. If you go to...
You weren't allowed to go under the railway, were you?
Eh?
You weren't allowed to come inland under the railway?
No, no. What, if you go to Colliery and put your back against the lighthouse and look towards the Irish Sea, not the River Dee, to the Irish Sea, we had workings there up to 3 miles, Mike, was it?
Easy.
It was a straight line from under 3 Pitshead to 81 was 5 miles.
5 miles.
That was
Yeah, so I mean,
a straight line, but it was an 8-mile walk.
that's right, yeah. So we used to go down the pit and we used to go on the man riders. We used to be on the man rider for about 30 minutes, wasn't it, see? We'd get off there, we'd go round the back, and there'd be another man rider then taking us up a cliff. And depending which seams you were working, if you were working on the top 2 seams, you'd go past the strata bunker, which was a bunker which went right through the sea, all the seams, and you work in the top 2. If you want to go to the middle 2 or the bottom 2, there was an access road, there's about 1 in 4, yeah, something like that, with a top and bottom man riding belt. So that was handy, that, and it was just getting off platform. Halfway down one for the middle 2, then you had to go down the bottom for the bottom 2 seams. So it was a massive place. Well, this man rider one day, I remember going down there one day. Remember Gordon Gregory? Anybody used to row Gordon Gregory?
I used to go with Gordon Gray. I worked on it 67 to 68.
Oh, right.
Back in the health service, I used to have a lift off Gordon. He was a shopman on 2 yards, wasn't he?
But he
John Cliff.
Yeah.
I worked on 2 yards.
and yet, what the hell was they saying? Man, I lost my train of thought.
You're in the age group.
George Gregory. I was going down the pit, and we had some Japanese or Chinese, what were the Japanese, were they?
Visitors, yeah.
The visitors, you see. So anyway,
I think they left the flue here when we got out.
they should have left it down there, shouldn't we? Brought it up. But Gordon Gregory said, is there anybody at the top of the access, he said. So I says, John here, mate, what's the matter? John, stand by your button, he says, because these haven't got no idea of getting off the belt. You think these, with these, I think they'd be very nimble and all that. But what God, it's a big long platform, and they're only little, and I was standing by the button to switch it off, and Gordon was just going like that.
He was a big lad, John.
Yeah, got the Gordon, he had an accident down there, didn't he?
I went to hospital with him.
Aye, they lifted the stretcher up and he fell through.
Yeah.
And there was another one.
They were on the tail end, having a snapping him and John.
But yeah, they had another stretcher and that burst, didn't they? And it hit his leg, so he said, sod it, I'll walk.
Yeah, the hell of
He was a hell of a girl. Right, we're out with here now. These are the modern boys. We were on, when I first went to the pit, it was on advanced mining, and they used to, how can I tell you, the coal face is cut square, you see, but the roadways, because they were going in all the time, they had to be arches, because they didn't hold the weights above them properly. So when they cut the coal face, they had to cut what we used to call the rip, and they'd fit all these on these arches there, you see. But what we were doing on retreat mining, as I said before, we drive the two roadways. I was a turn. Where's that thing? I think it's on this side.
Yeah. The other side.
It's the other side.
The other side.
So anyway, we used to drive that roadway, and then what we used to do, we used to work the coal out, you see. And all the waste used to go at the back of us. We used to have big flushing plates between the chocks to stop any lumps or anything coming on us, you know. People say to me like, well, how did it, doesn't it, oh, you know, I'll cave in, you know, when you leave everything go behind you. But what I say to them is, say you've got a box about that big, and a piece of coal that fits into that box. You take that piece of coal out of that box, smash it up into pieces, and you never get all in pieces back in the box. And that's basically how it works, you know.
Yeah.
Basic, very basically, you know. Yeah. The lads, they went on to Pillars, it was Pillar and Star went down, wasn't it? And the lads used to have the, work hard on the shoulders, didn't they? And they had a machine, and they used to undercut the bottom. How long was the faces then, like?
Ask us up there.
You wasn't there then?
No, it's in school. 100 yards.
Say 100 yards, what they used to do, they used to cut it, you see, this, like, just like a chainsaw, if you like, cutting the bottom all the way like that. Then what they used to do, they used to drill the top, okay? Drill all holes in the top. And then they used to put dynamite in with wires on it, with the detonator in it, and the wires coming out, yeah? And then they used to put clay in there and stem it. And they all used to connect up each to it, and they connect it then to a battery. Now, on our film, when you're looking at what we're talking about, it sounds like one bang, doesn't it? But if it was one bang, it should just all one big lump come out, you know. So the deaths were delayed deaths, microseconds. So instead of just going bang, like it'd be going bang, 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 working its way from the middle, you see. So that's how we used to do that.
One bang.
One bang.
One bang. Let him one bang go
Do you know how to work with this lot down there, you know? So anyway, where are we now? You went in the rescue brigade, were you?
Huh?
Were you in the rescue brigade?
No,
Were
I
you,
was
mate?
busy with the pit ponies.
No. Well, used to have the lads from the rescue brigade. They used to, you know, they used to be trained, highly trained, to go down the pit to deal with any accidents or anything like that down the pit, you know. Hotline, that lad. I don't even know my own number. I don't dial myself, do I? Anyway, these lads here, what they used to do when they were training, they used to take a little canary down in the cage. And they'd hold the canary up like this, you see. And when because he's got a little heart and little lungs, quicker breathing than us, and as soon as he had a whiff, you know, of gas, he's off his perch. He wasn't dead. So what they'd do, they'd bring him back out and just gently rock him like that. And then he'd come back to life. But after the cages, we had little boxes with holes in, and there was a gas cylinder on the top, a little gas cylinder. So when the canary was overcome, they just used the oxygen to bring him back, you know. But we tried very hard to improve on this point of air, and we were the first ones ever to use budgies. I don't think you've heard about this, have you? Well, he never used to faint or anything like that. But when he was going down there, he'd go, "Hey lads, there's gas in here." That's not true, that's not true. There's a type of machines that they use here, the lads. It was all, they got rid of the belts inside because it was all free steered vehicles. They used to turn, you know, in the middle, didn't they? Yeah. They all had rubber tyres. One used to cut the coal, and then and the big arms in the front like this. the arms would pick up the coal like this, and it'd go through the machine, and it'd feed onto a shuttle car. And he had a little conveyor type of thing, and he used to fill it all up with coal. And then what he used to do then, he used to go where the belt was, and he'd just feed it onto the belt, you see. So there was no belt structure, because when we were in the headings, especially if we were cutting down, and we had the FSVs coming, they used to knock our belt structure to our pieces, didn't they? Flip it. But they are. But see, they're all here. All the free steed vehicles. You can all come around after, we'll put it by here so people can have a look and ask us questions and all that, you know. I'm sorry about the film.
Is that the pit choir down there?
Eh?
Is that the pit choir or pit band?
The pit band. Point of Air Band, they were sponsored by machinery, mining machinery. But when the pit started going down and under a private ownership, they withdrew the sponsorship, you see, so the band failed. Well, just folded, didn't it? So, I hope you enjoyed me going on. And I'm not as good as Mr. Hughes, you know. No. This is what it was down the pits. All the lads here, you know, Bob, Di, Michael tell you, all, we used to work hard, didn't we? But we used to play hard as well, you know. And everybody was everybody's mate down there. It's just like, compare it to the army, can't you? You know, where you're all under danger and you're all looking out for each other, you know. So, I think that's it really.
Well, I was from the old tin bath time I was, because the 1957s we had the pithead baths, but prior to that there was the old tin bath, and I was brought up with the old tin bath.
You used to have a bath on Sunday night.
And where I lived in Gronlands, the old cottages, there was no electricity, no water, so there was no bath, and my late mother had to get a big saucepan, boil the water in the saucepan for I was coming home, and the old tin bath from that time. And so they sank number 3 shaft in 1957. 1957 was a good year for me, coming home black for me. And surprising, as soon as the bath opened, that there was one man only that never used those baths, and that was a chap from Bagel, wasn't it? Walter Plattwoodens. Now, it was a blessing sent. Now, funny enough, the older miners had sons working there in the pit. They went and had the shower, and they all wore swimming trunks because they thought it embarrassed their sons. They were from the old school, the old men, you know. They were from the old school, and they wore bathing costumes, and some of them, in fact, changed their shifts from different shift from what their sons. You could see where they were coming from, but even at their age, and I know there's ladies' friends, they didn't want their sons to know how they were made. I know it sounds that, but honestly, that's the way they were. And nicknames, again, John's mentioned a few. When I first started in Point of Air, 1953, there were 16 David Joneses working there. Well, David's the Welsh name, and Jones is and 16, so nicknames started coming in, didn't they? Well, but I won't translate that, because that's we had worse names than that. But there was one that stood out, and his name was Will One Way. And he was from the older miners again, and he lived in Greenfield, and he used to walk to work. I know it sounds, but he used to walk to work winter's morning in Greenfield, walking, and Moston Ironworks was working, and he'd do with the slow, turns his back, lights his pipe, carries on walking, ends back up in Greenfield where it started. So he was, I'm saying he was known as Will One Way. And then later on in the pit, and I got elected onto the welfare committee looking after the welfare of the old miners. And every Christmas time we used to take the miners' children to Derbyshire Miners, remember them on March Road? We'd take that was a nice day, 400 kids, looking after 400 kids. And then we'd take, in the summer, we'd take the men, the retired miners, most of them wanted to go to Shrewsbury Flower Show or Southport Flower Show, and this and that. And we all had a coach, about 6 coach loads, and I was in charge of the Gronant, Westbury, Donassa coach and this and that. And we'd take them to the flower show in Southport and then have a meal for them in Southport and that. And after that, I'd say, well, don't forget, we're leaving here at 8:30, get back home. And you go and have a few pints, we'll pick you up here at 8:30. And of course, they start singing. You give 20, 30 Welshmen a couple of pints, and what they start doing? Singing, don't they? Singing. And we go around, we've been in Southport for about 2 hours, going to different pubs looking for them. And many a landlord used to say to us, well, you're from Wales, are you coming back to the show next year? The people, all streets, it's a big street in Southport, and people heard the singing. And not because I'm Welsh myself, you get 30 Welshmen singing, and some were in Newmarket Choir at that time. So the people come out to the streets, would they? And the landlord used to say, fetch him back, and I said, we'll pay £100 to fetch him back. And I'd get on my bus, count my heads, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, I'm all here, yeah. And I'd walk down the bus and speak to him. Have a nice day. Oh, thanks, Glenn. All right. Have you bought anything for the wife, like? No, no, but I've been to the shop and got some rock for the grandchildren. Yeah, it's had a good day, yes. Back, you always get the comedians, don't you?
Yeah.
The back seat, George Hayes, Bill Farrer, Horace Ben. Well, I had a good day, young man. Said to Horace, I said, and he lived in Llanasa, Horace, by the way. Said, all right, Horace, I had a good day here, why? Have you bought anything for the wife? Yes, he said, what have you bought? I bought her a fish, he said, for a supper. He had it in his coat. He were fish and chips shopping. Had it in his coat. In the end, the Derbyshire Miners closed down. The miners closed down, where you say the pensioners at Christmas, the wives and all, the miners closed down. So I said, where can we take these now? So the men first get, the women can last in it. The men first, waiting. So we hired the Royal Irish. We'll take them up to Mersey. And I was saying to me, other chaps on the welfare committee, they start behaving, we'll throw them overboard. Go on the Royal, get to Liverpool, Royal Irish, there'd be about 60 miners, I suppose, retired miners, and about typical scousers, All right there, lad, yeah. You got all fellas here, but I did all men. But when you tell us, I said, we booked it 2 or 3 months ago. Yeah, he said, I know you booked it, he said, we had all these men, the foreigners, isn't there, no, we'd have had a few strippers on, he said, for the box. I said, some of these men are in the 70s and 80s. And I said, well, and then, of course, the children now, where can we take the children? Because the children look forward to the parties, like. And we're lucky to get in the Empire in Liverpool. So we used to take them there, to the pantomime in Liverpool.
Oh, no, you didn't.
Oh, yes, I did. I get them settled there, and the staff in the Empire, fair enough, said, I will look after them. There's a pub just up the road called the Legs of Man, top of Lime Street in Liverpool. go there for an hour or so and come and go and have a pint. So we goes, and a few pints, and we're having a chat in our own language, Welsh, you know, how I had. So a couple of the old curlers in their hair, you know, that's what they are on Lime Street. Come up to us. All right there, lad, are you? About 2 teeth in the head and smoking a wood pipe. You looking for business? I said, what do you mean? You're German, she said, you must have plenty of money, you just got off the boats. But it was her speaking in Welsh. You can look back on those sort of memories, you know. But we looked after the retired miners, and of course when the pit closed, and well, long before that. But John and I, and unfortunately, I've been to over 100 funerals of ex-miners, but we still go. You know, this, what John and we're doing, it's not for us, we're still here. It's in their memory, you know, why we do this, like, you know. So it's just, it was hard work, but we had our funny times and all, you know, and that's just some of the memories that I had, you know.
This gentleman down here that's only washed up to here, the rest of him is black.
Yes.
And his son,
I thought that was his overall.
his son lives in Gridland here, Gwen Parry.
Yeah.
His daughter was Gwen Parry, and she married Chris Jones. So she was Gwen Parry Jones, yeah? So, that's it. Anyway, if anybody wants to come around and ask us anything.
Just something before I got it. Last weekend I was in Prestatyn, and there was a man came talking to me, he worked there. He transferred from Lancashire to Point of Ayr. I had a chat with him, and he said the first day I was there, he said, I didn't know what the hell to do. He said, people couldn't understand me. He said, and I had been a deputy, I had to fill the names in. He said, so asked the first lad, what's your name? Di Denby. He goes, how do you spell it? He said, Jones. What's your name? He said, Bob Rill. How do you spell it? Jon. He said, I didn't know what the hell to do.
So anyway, thanks very much. Yes.
If anybody wants to come to our museum,
Oh yes.
we are in Holywell High Street, almost at the top on the right hand side opposite the barbers. We've just got a little room in the back, haven't we? Overflowing, but there's little things, a little room there that's got, you know, like dolly tubs and dolly pegs and
all our yesterdays.
We've even got a piano, haven't we?
Yes.
In our room there's no roof there. So everybody come up here.
Just 2 things. At the moment in Theatre Clwyd, there's a play on called The Glee Club, and you've captured exactly what the Glee Club is about. You know, the camaraderie between miners.
Yeah.
It's absolutely wonderful. Try to see it if you can. The other thing is, I'd not like to know, I come from Wirral, and we had mines in Neston, and there were 2 competing companies there, but they went out under the D. And you said before that you went 8 miles out towards the Irish Sea. Was there never a clash between Wirral mines and...
No, we were at the mouth of the D. I mean, Mike, where was the Durbog and all that at the bottom there?
No, it did miles apart.
Miles apart, yeah.
That's how I was from here, and he was always right.
You know, you sound like your man.
Yeah.
I grew up in North and Beckett.
Is your name Bob? Hi Bob. I remember taking you home from school for the drive. I won't tell them what happened.
My memories are fond memories because when I was back, I was able to go to the pits and shop.
I live in Gronwell, I went to school with them.
And they showed me things that were going on. And if I wanted to go down the pits on the weekend, they used to be down.
Yeah.
You'd never get near anywhere like that.
No, no. I remember one day one of the bosses, Ali Bongo we used to call him, wasn't he? He had big thick glasses and he had teeth that like red rum. And he brought his son down on a Sunday. Now I was working with one of the fitters on a Sunday. And his lad was in the Navy. And he come down in the polo neck, white jumper. I've never seen such a state in all your life. Sweating.
You know, you were saying about the singing, Jan?
Yeah.
I remember coming up one night, I was working, you know, because we used to work from Sunday to Friday morning,
Yeah.
night shift, and Lawrence Jones was our overman at the time, and he said, "You want to work tonight, Cooper?" I said, "I don't mind, Mr. Jones." But I always remember coming up, and as we were coming up one morning, you know, finishing the shift, there was a lot of the lads at the Trelawney Choir on that shift, and they sang with band.
I'll tell you a story about that.
Show it on.
Have you got it on volume?
Can you turn the volume up on this?
Your glasses
No,
off,
I
John,
don't
like.
think so.
It's not on ours, it's on the volume.
The Wiltshire still doing. Better than I am.
If anybody wants to buy our DVDs or books, they're here for you. Very competitive prices, I think. Is that the one, is it, John?
That's it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. That's it, was it?
Special.
That's it, John. Why do you put yourself on, John? Why do you put yourself on all the time? No one's asked you for an autograph yet.
Time for mental.
It's a big job.
Where's the volume?
Shouting, didn't he? Come and listen to this. And he went running back to the tape recorder, came back, and all we could hear was, there was 28 men in each deck at the cage, coming up, and the higher it got, the better the sound was. All 56 men were singing. When they got to the top, and the cage stopped, they opened the gates, and we never know how it happened, but all the men in the top deck started coming out to the cage, and they were singing in Welsh, Ar Hyd y Nos, and in the bottom deck, they were all singing all through the night. They carried on, putting the lamps away. They carried on singing while they went through into the baths. And while they were all having showers, they all carried on singing. And it was the best sound. You could give me any choir, but nothing ever sounds like that. The tone of it coming up the pit was just absolutely fantastic. That was recorded in the recording studio. Does anybody know where the nearest recording studio is to here? Fun and Grew.
Morgan used to have a dinner there.
Was it the old dinner room in the went to the band room after. Somebody took it over and they made it, and that's where they recorded all that. You know, people don't realise this.
Where was that then? Where was it?
In Fun and Grew.
Where?
Behind the chip shop, it used to be the old school dinner room. Yeah, where the chip shop is, and that's it. And as they were going on about them singing, it says in the Bible, doesn't it, that Jonah was swallowed by a whale. How did they know he was in there? He started singing. Everybody sings in Wales.
Go draw raffle now. Thank you, Paul. Pink tap, pink ticket 16 to 20. Pink ticket 16 to 20.